Hey, Missy. Close the door.
I just want to reiterate the point of meditation. Yeah, it's not a natural thing to do for a living, moving, crawling human creature to sit down in this specific posture and shut things down. But the point of meditation, hopefully it will answer some of the things I heard in the room. There's many byproducts to meditation, because you get peace of mind and calmness and all the other blah blahs. They're nice. But from this system, from this point of view, when you've gotten sick enough of trying a conventional method to get happy, see, most of us feel at some depth some unhappiness, some sense of things don't work. We get this feeling all the time, and even when we engage in something, we have this like fear that it might not work out, because we know, and this was the first time I heard this, I thought, oh, bloody Buddhists are so depressing. But it's so real. It talks so true to our experience. And some people are fortunate enough to have a catastrophe early on, and they get that sensation that things aren't right. Something's not quite right. And so we try different things to change our state. So we want to change our state most of the time. And that can be a trap, because we're forever changing our state. And with our ingenuity, we're figuring out how to change our state millisecond by millisecond. I press like on Facebook. Ah, feels good. Oh, I still have that hollow. Shit, I better like something in Instagram. Oh, that was nice. Oh, no. I better go to Grindr. Oops. And do that. Change my state. Change my state. Yeah? That was theatrics. Yeah. I don't really do Grindr.
Of course not.
You know what it is.
I know what it is what he said. I know what that is. Yeah. Change of state. So it's funny, because it's the impulse that gets you to step into figuring it out. But if you keep changing your state in an ignorant way, meaning not realizing that there's something bigger, it could be the trap that keeps us wanting more and more and more and running away from the stuff we dislike. So be aware of that trap. The point of meditation for this system is saying, slow it right down. Figure out that there's something not working. Slow the way that everything that you experience is filtered through your mind. Not your brain, your mind. The observer. Every single change of state you seek, every fear and running away from something you dislike, every hope and running towards something that you like, every wish that that next click will get me satisfied and to change my state. Figuring out how that works needs your brain, your mind, to slow right down and watch it at work. Get the arising of the want or the arising of the not want, and then catch it, the monkey in your mind that says, I want that, that'll make me change state. I don't want that, that'll make me change state. And when you slow it right down, you shut down the doorways for the monkey in your mind. When you shut it down sufficiently and the monkey is calmed down, you get to see how things function. And someone said, I want to see reality. Yeah? And in this system, you can only do that in meditation. Once you get to a certain proficiency of shutting down the doorways for which the mind gets distracted. So I'm going to ask you, who are you really? You listening. Who are you? Are you the things you feel, the things you taste, the things you touch, the things you smell, the things you see? When I say who are you the picture of you? Are you the feeling that flows in you? That you that's hearing me ask you about you, when you shut down its senses, hence the meditation thing, gets to connect. If you remove the interpretation of what your mind is doing to the senses, taste, touch, etc., if you remove what it's saying, oh, I feel this, I touch that, I smell that, if you remove that, you're left with you. And what you find, not far into you, is that that is expansive. It's not defined by the lonely you or the sad you or the hopeful you, the angry you, the enlightened you, it's not defined by the thing that you're moving away from or towards. But you can't do that without slowing it down. So the point of meditation is to see what's obviously around you that we can't see because we're so busy. And so the Tibetans have mastered and identified all the details of how you progress through this thing. And so that should be the motivation for meditation. There's no other motivation. Sitting down and not seeing anything and not feeling anything, not tasting anything, isn't really an end, a thing in itself. It's there to produce an outcome. But how can you know what medicine to apply to what you seek if you can't find out how it's functioning? So think about that. That's got massive implications. Yeah? The way you identify yourself, it's very pinpointed. I'll tell you a quick story. You know, I've been doing this for a long time, and so the trick of my mind is like, it thinks it's practicing, but it changes gear and it's tricking me. So I walk into the train, I'm like, I'm just going to observe my mind, observing itself, because now I've been observing it for a while. I think I'm the observer, you know, but someone's observing the observer. So I'm like, I'm going to watch that one today. I walk into the train and I see a pattern that I've always done. Which eye contact am I going to have with the person that's going to connect with me? Like, oh, he likes me. He's cute, you know? And I'm like, wow, I didn't know I did that. So obviously, it was so obvious. I didn't care to step in there and see what that lonely lady was doing or what that child was playing with or what the movement on the windows were doing. All those things were infinitely available. There's infinite availability in that train. But my mind, out of the entire realm of possibility, picked this one thing, and by focusing on this one thing, everything else became the background. I missed the woman loving her child. I missed the flow of colour through the window. I missed the infinite potential in that train for compassion and love and every realm of hatred and hope, and everything was instantly available. I pinpointed it into that. That was my reality. I missed the entirety. This is a metaphor for what you can see when you're in meditation. So when we do sit down, because we're not made for that, and yet we are, yeah, we're not habituated into that, we encounter these 5 problems. And I cover them really quickly so I can move you through nicely. If you weren't here, write them down. The first problem is laziness, lelo, which means you just don't feel like it. Don't feel like meditating. And that's because you've got too many things to like on Facebook or too many boys to perv at on the train or whatever it is. Yeah? I'm like, oh, if I get out quickly enough, I'm going to get a bigger fix, a faster fix on my want. So they say this, out of the 8 antidotes, we use up the first 4 on the first problem. So when you have laziness, it's because you don't know the benefits of meditation. what if, through a sustained effort in meditating, maybe it will take 3 months, maybe it will take 6 months, maybe it will take a year. What if it takes 3 years? That you can step into a state of being that removes all suffering, completely pacifies every single one of those ignorant wantings or ignorant not wantings. How long are you prepared to make effort towards something if it completely cuts the root of all hurt and all suffering? If it was possible to step into an enlightened state of being, whatever name we give that thing, nirvana, divinity, God, oneness, it doesn't matter what word you give it. If that was possible, how much effort would you really put into it? A week? An hour a day? 3 days? What if it took you 6 years? Would you do it? If you knew it could get you that. So the first antidote to the first part of the 4 antidotes to the first problem of laziness, not wanting to meditate, is thinking about the benefits of meditating. And if you don't know the benefits, if you don't know what they are, you should study them. They're in the books and blah, blah, blah. But how good would it be to actually get all those things we talked about today fulfilled? I didn't hear anything in your comments about motivation for being here that cannot be pacified, addressed, and surpassed if you stepped into an enlightened state of being. It's not something unattainable. That's the point of this. There's no other point. It's not, yes, you meet nice people here, yes, the food is yummy. Yeah, I get to be on the train for an hour. No. There's no other point. It's actually possible. And I heard somebody make a comment, and I thought the biggest contribution in my life to even learn this stuff is the possibility that a different state of being is real, that I am capable of stepping into a realm that transcends suffering. I didn't really think that was possible, even though I was seeking it. And then I met people and I learned stuff that made it logically possible, and it felt possible. And that's available to you, and it's not foreign to you. That's what this is saying. So thinking of the benefits of meditation is the first part of the antidote. The second part is that if that's the benefit, then you want to do it. You want to become a good meditator because you think, okay, I'm going to get lucky, so I better put effort. I want to put effort. Does that make sense? And then the next part is you actually take action. You actually make yourself sit down and like, okay, I figured out the benefits. I'm going to make efforts. Here I am making efforts. And then you get this thing called practice ease, which means your body gets used to sitting and shutting down the senses. And that doesn't come instantly. Just because you decided to doesn't mean that all of a sudden you're a virtuoso pianist. That takes practice. Any artist, any musician, anything that we do takes habituation. And just sitting all of a sudden becomes comfortable. Whereas for weeks or months it might be uncomfortable. And so each time you recall the benefits and you go through those 4. Yeah, so the 4 antidotes are benefits, you want it, you take action, and you get practice ease. That should cover your laziness. Now, get your lazy ass on the cushion. And the second problem you have is called forgetting the instruction, which means you lose the object of meditation. Yeah? So someone gives you an object, and I haven't given anybody an object of meditation except maybe one person in here. Yeah? And if you've got a teacher, a meditation teacher, and they've given you an object of meditation, it's usually specific to you. Paul, you talked about that from the other class, and it should address some of the things we covered today. Geshe Michael helped people identify objects of meditation when he was here last time, but when you have a specific object of meditation that is yours, with your specific flavor, you forget it. You jump to something else, and you jump to something else. means you lose it. You're sitting there meditating, and all of a sudden you're thinking about the boys on the train. Oh, and then you come back. Yeah, we'll cover those stages as well. So, what do you think the antidote to forgetting the object is?
Remember.
It's so silly. Right? Remember it. So there's a part of your mind that should actually be triggering off. You divide a part of your mind that's watching that should say, okay, I'm enjoying breakfast now, and I should have been thinking about anger or happiness or whatever it is. So you bring with remembrance, you bring the mind back to the object. It's like, a hook, and you bring it back. I mean, you don't feel bad about it, you don't kick yourself about it, it's just practice. It's like doing scales. It's practice. You screw it up every now and then. The screwing up is actually what gets you doing it better next time. So you should, don't add negativity to learning a path. So it's like, oh shit, I screwed up again, I'm so terrible, look at me, I can't meditate, I can't meditate, I can't meditate, I can't meditate. What's your mind gonna do? Can't meditate. That's what you're telling it. Yep. So the third problem is mental dullness or agitation, which means you're either too hyper, your mind is too hyper, or your mind is too down, things are muddy. Yeah? So dullness, things aren't sharp, we'll cover them. And they say the antidote is watchfulness, yeah? Which isn't really an antidote, it's just an alarm, okay? It's just an alarm. You realize that when your mind is trying to focus on an object, and you've got an object, and the object doesn't have to be a physical thing, it doesn't have to be an image, it could be a sensation, it could be an idea, that it's not sharp enough, or you're too hyper about it, you're holding it too tight and choking the living hell out of it. And so part of your mind that's watching says, hey, release it a little bit or hold it a little bit tighter. Yeah? So it's adjusting agitation and dullness. So first of all, the alarm goes off, and then you get the fourth problem, which is failing to take action. So you see the problem, and you're like, oh, there I am choking the object. Oh, there I am, there he goes. Oh, it's a bit sleepy. I'm just going to sit here, pass out a little bit. Yeah, this is good. I'm meditating. Look at me, I'm meditating. Oh, look, the object is fading. Oh, look, it's fading. And you, the fourth problem is failing to take action. So what do you think the solution would be? Take action. Yeah? So if the mind is falling, what should you do? Uplift it. That's the action. If it's uplifted too much and too agitated, what should you do? Bring it down. I like that one. Just bring it right down. Yeah, and so you do that in different methods. I didn't cover it last week in detail, but if your mind is if dullness hits it too much, you need to think of bright things and bright feeling things. So how fortunate you are to have the opportunity you have. Most people in the world don't have the opportunities we have. For those of you coming to Nepal, you'll get to find that out soon. Think about the things you are lucky to have. It should be uplifting to you. You know, if you need more of a physical jolt, just change things to a deep blue sky or something. And then if it's too dull, you can sort of wake up, move around and start meditating again. But if you're too agitated and your mind's too hyper, you want to think about the very reality of your death. Imagine what it would be like to actually have the last few breaths come out of your body and your mind watching it, unable to lift your hand to ask for something, or unable to move your lips and use your vocal cords to say goodbye, and then you make it very real and tangible, and that should sort of sharpen you up a little bit. Go, okay, I'm down to doing this. There's nobody else in the room, by the way, except you and the beings you invited in your mind. So you can do these things to the depth and courage and vulnerability that will equal the result. The stronger you do it, the stronger the result. So that's problem number 4, failing to take action, and the solution is antidote number 7. You either uplift the mind or bring down the mind. But the 5th problem is taking action when it's not required. Yeah? You get used to adjusting for dullness and agitation, and imagine that you got used to that, and then you're just forever driving like this, left and the right, the corrections, and then all of a sudden you don't need to because the road doesn't require it, and you're still doing it. Yeah? So then you don't need to take action. That's the last antidote, when no correction is needed. If you're on the object, whatever that is, and it's bright and you're holding it tightly and lovely, don't need to do anything, just be there. And so you have a watchfulness around that. Okay? So that takes us for 5 minutes. Is that okay? Any questions on that? Cool? No? Lots of questions on that. Apologize. Can I keep you 5 minutes more? Can I not keep you 5 minutes more? Who doesn't want? Good, thank you. Here we go.
So the antidote for the last one is to just stop, right?
It's not to take action. Yeah, don't take action. The antidote is like build a habit of not taking action when it's not required. Yeah, so then after meditating, practically this means that if you're observing yourself beginning to hold too tight or uplifting your mind a little bit when you don't need to because you've got a sharp object in front of you, that watchfulness should alarm you, and you just don't do anything. Just go, oh, that's part of the, it moves away. Yeah. Cool. So let's have a look. Sem ne gu. Say sem ne.
Sem ne
gu.
gu.
Sem means mind, ne means state, gu means 9. So this is the 9 states or 9 stages of meditation. I'll just give you the names and the essence. It's a little confusing because the names don't necessarily describe the essence. And this is the beauty about this or any other path. Whatever names, labels we give these things, they are identifying an under-identifiable thing. It's an experience. It's not the name. Yeah, so don't get stuck on the name. The point for this you'll figure out. So the first of the 9 stages or states of meditation is, say, sem jok pa. Sem
jok pa.
And that's sem is mind, we just learned that, and jokpa is to put upon or putting on. Yeah. So this is just putting the mind on the object of meditation. So once you've received an instruction, I'll give you an example. Someone says to you, your teacher says to you, meditate upon the image of your Lama. Meditate upon the image, the visual and the 3D-ness of the Buddha. Meditate on anger. Meditate on death. Meditate on jealousy. These are objects of meditation. It's not a candle, it's not a breath, it's not darkness. Okay? You actually have something to focus your mind, and it's got a wide focus, and through practice it becomes a laser sharp focus. Once you get an object from your teacher, the first of the stages is to actually place your mind on the object. So if you've been meditating at all and you've been able to have that visual or that experience, you've reached stage number 1. Congratulations! Stage number 1 achieved. Yeah, if you haven't, when we give you an object of meditation, or if you ask for one, you'll get one, you'll reach stage 1 of meditation. I like it because it's a false sense of security, because we think we've achieved something if we haven't done anything. Yeah. So, who wants to draw? Justin, can you draw these things? Here, see if I give you these things. I just want you to, so people have a visual for what it looks like. I just need to do a dot, 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 arrow. Here, do that, those for corresponding, yeah? So what this means is that, let's say that it's the image of your teacher. And why the image of your teacher? Because you've met a being who gives you this change of state seemingly naturally. And so every time you're with them, you learn something, you're turned on. Yeah, the first one's dots, not lines. And then the next one is lines with big spaces. Yeah, you see, very, very specific. So you'll be, if it's a being, if it's a person that you've seen, you'd have a dot, an instant of seeing them, and then you're thinking of breakfast. And then you're like seeing them, and then you're thinking of lunch. And then so you have little dots of concentration, of single moments on the object. That's Senjokpa. The next one, say Gyundu Jokpa. And this is putting your mind on an object in a stream. And what this means, this is more, instead of dots, now some of the dots have joined, and so you can sustain a little bit the image or the content of the object on which you're meditating. It's a bit of a stream, but then it's got big gaps in between. You're still thinking for breakfast, but you're holding the object for a little bit. Does that make sense? So that's the second one, putting the mind on the object in a stream. So it means that you can hold the object for a short while, and then you get bursts of distraction. Say Lente Jokpa. So Lente is path, patch, and Jokpa is putting the mind on it. So what this means is that the moments of concentration on the object are longer, and the gaps are shorter. You could patch them. If you patch them, the moments get longer. Does that make sense? So on the object is longer than off the object on this third stage. Yeah, I think it's really beautiful how detailed they did this. So, your memory or your awareness, your watchfulness to bring the object back to you is quite strong in this third stage. It's almost automatic. Yeah, it's got some strength to watch you not be on the object, so you're just patching gaps. Yeah, which you've developed in stage 2. Say Nyewar Jekpa. Okay, thank you so much for that. So this is Nyewar is closely, Jekpa's mind is placed on it. This is where the mind is placed closely on the object. Note that the line has got no dots on it. In other words, you can just have the object. You're not losing the object anymore. You're not having to make efforts. But you have very squiggly uplines and very squiggly downlines, meaning you have strong agitation, which is the upline, and strong dullness. Yeah, you have those two enemies are attacking you. Yeah, and you're losing the fight. But you've won an incredible battle by being able to maintain your focus on the object sustainably for the length of your meditation. That's a big achievement, to actually say, I'm going to meditate on a thing, sit there and be able to maintain on a thing without having breaks on it because you're thinking breakfast, office, and all the other distractions. But now you're fighting two big enemies, strong agitation or strong dullness. Yeah? So that was number 4. So you're making efforts, yeah? A struggle to keep it there. I'll talk more about it next week. Say Dulwar Jekpa. Thank you for that. Notice if it was drawn correctly. Yeah, a little bit. The squiggly line is longer. It's not so up and down, the bottom squiggly line. Do you see that? That's dullness. So you've gone from obvious dullness to subtle dullness that you're fighting. Yeah, it's not so in control of you. Now you're winning the battle with this enemy because you're applying a powerful watchness on it that dullness is slipping in. Yeah, but it's not so obvious. You've got that under control. Does that make sense? It's like a pendulum. You'll see when I talk about the next one. So the way this stage feels is your fixation on the object is strong, your clarity is strong, but you've got no intensity, so it's not like, we'll cover that again. So let's talk about actually, what's the antidote to dullness? Do you remember? Bring yourself up, right? So what happens if you're feeling you've overcome strong dullness, but now you're battling subtle dullness with what? Bringing your mind up, right? What happens if you do that too much repeatedly? What are you going to battle next? Agitation, subtle agitation. Got it? See how that works? How lovely. So this is called Shiwar Jepa, which is make the mind calm, or Shiwar means peace, and Jepa make the mind calm. And this is now you correcting subtle agitation because you've over-pendulumed subtle dullness. Does that make sense? Yeah, thank you. And then you get to this beautiful place, stage number 7, say Nampar Shiwar Jepa. So what was Shiwar Jepa? Yeah. So Nampar, so peace, mind, or make your mind peaceful, right? Napar means totally. So here is you totally make your mind calm or peaceful, which means now that subtle agitation and the subtle dullness are disappearing. And to me, when I think about this, is when you're fighting an enemy, and for me as a tiny kid, my 2 older sisters used to beat me up all the time. One was agitating, the other one was dull. Yeah. And my mother used to say to them, one day, un dia, he'll grow up and he'll get you, one day. And I used to cling on to those words. I'm like, when is that day coming? Because I'm getting beat up all the time, you know. And so I did that Bart Simpson with Lisa Simpson thing one day. One day I lost control. They were hitting me and I started hitting back like blindly with rage. Yeah. Closed my eyes and I'm hitting them, and then my mum's pulling me away going, stop, 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 and I had both my sisters cowering, you know, in the corner going, stop, stop, crying, and I'd lost my sense of being. I was just like beating the shit out of them. And I remember like feeling bad that they were crying, but feeling that's the one day where you have the power over the enemy. And this is what this is. This is where you're no longer being attacked by dullness and agitation or keeping the mind on the object. You've got the bastard and now you're proactively smashing it down so they disappear. This is a nice stage. Yeah, you're making proactive corrections. You're sending a part of your mind forward saying, oh, I see that coming. Smash, smash, smash. Not so graphically as punching out my sisters, but this is where you really have, you see the defeat of that enemy, of those enemies in your mind. The enemy is nothing but your mind. Yeah. And the last stage, no, it isn't, the second last stage, is say Tsechek to Jepa. This is bring the mind to one-pointedness, or it's the same as Ting and Zin, or what's Ting and Zin? Shamatha, is it? Single-pointedness. Yeah. So bring the mind to one-pointedness. In this stage is identified by putting a small amount of effort. When you sit down to meditate, you're actually putting a little bit of effort to go into meditation, but you've been habituating this so much that you just then flow. There's no more battle with agitation or dullness. It's extremely, extremely subtle, and you can remain in the entire state of meditation in this a little bit of effort at the beginning. Yeah? And the last one, so yeah, at that stage, no longer possible to get any dullness or agitation, and no need to turn on your watchfulness because it's become a habit. The last one, say nampar. Jokpa, which is nampar is even place. Jokpa is mind on object. So it's a place to place the mind in deep meditation. This is effortless. As soon as you sit down, you're in. Yeah, and you've habituated your mind through practice, doing this over and over. And how do you get there? Doing it every day, like doing it every minute that you can. And don't do it I'm more type A, so I started this, I'm going to do an hour a day and I'm going to do this. That's the wrong way to do it. Yeah, do it in tiny, like I wasted years doing it that way. Do it in tiny chunks, and when you're getting that you're doing it really well, you see yourself in, stay on it and then pull out. So you get the flavor that I'm going to come back and pick up where I left off, rather than waiting for you to fail and depressed and I have to go and fix that thing. You see, so short amounts of meditation. I don't care if it's a minute, I don't care if it's 2 minutes, but if you can get that essence, you will move through the stages faster, totally faster. The other point here is when we talk about the objects, don't go so pinpointedly about the image of my Lama sitting there with eyes like this in pink robes with the flowers in his head. Yeah? Get a broad object, something big to start with that you can narrow, because you're on the object. So let's say an object might be, when do I get angry? That's so broad that your mind can wander, la 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 la, yesterday I got angry when such and such did that. You're on the object. When did I get angry? Yeah? You can think about yesterday, the breakfast they made wrong, blah blah blah. What else did I get angry at? Da 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 da. Oh, I'm about to get angry. Yeah, so your mind can wander in this big space and it's still on the object. So you're training the mind gradually, and then you can go, well, when do I get angry in a partner? When do I get angry? And then you can get very pinpointed over time. But initially, do it broad. And then, so that will give you confidence as well. And Merry Christmas. Thanks for letting me waste your time. Quick dedication. The essence, if you did manage to get some meaning, some connection to a better you, a more enlightened you, a less frustrated you, if you've gotten a tiny bit of hope that it is possible to transform a life, and that somehow you found the vehicle and the instructions, step into it. Imagine that all the millions of people that are forever liking things on Facebook or looking for things on Grindr or stepping into trains ignorantly can please get the instant result of what you got to taste tonight. Give it away to as many people and see their faces change. When you see the lonely person, the sad person, the angry person, fix them in your mind. Give any goodness you've received today away. That's all you have to think while we do the blah blah.
Sashi
Pukir Jishin Metotram Viram Shin Dem Padi Sange Shindu Midevarki Drokun Nanda Shinla Parsho Viranguru Ratnamandala Kamniyatayami
Kewa
Digaokun Sunam Yeshe Soksoksin Sunam Yeshe Lejunwe Dhamma Punito Parsho. And just remember that teacher on the crown above your head. Shrink them down to the size of a pea. And let them enter your crown and move all the way down in front of your spine to a place, a special place you create around the level of your heart. See if you can feel them in there. This is your highest ideal, the most purest you, and how you can recognize it. Keep it in your heart until we see each other next time. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for teaching.